Israeli strike on Gaza school sheltering displaced kills at least 17 and wounds 20. Gaza's Interior Ministry warns residents against cooperating with the US-based organization, calls it illegitimate. And the United States condemns Iran's suspension of cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog as unacceptable.
Window of opportunity to reverse course and choose a path of peace and prosperity.
An Israeli strike on a Gaza school sheltering displaced people has killed at least 17 and wounded 20 more. The Israeli strike hit Mustafa Hafiz School in Gaza City, according to officials at Al-Shifa Hospital. The school was housing displaced Palestinians. On Thursday, residents searched the rubble for belongings. The Israeli military had no immediate comment. The strike came as Hamas reviewed what US President Donald Trump called a final ceasefire proposal, which would include a 60-day truce and potential Israeli withdrawal. Israeli strikes on Gaza have killed dozens as talks continue over a possible US-brokered ceasefire to end the war. Gaza's health ministry says several Palestinians were killed and others injured after an Israeli strike hit the Mawasi area of Qnews. Families gathered at Nasser Hospital on Thursday to mourn the victims. Meanwhile, Hamas is demanding guarantees that a new US ceasefire proposal will end the war. Israeli officials say a deal is within reach nearly 21 months into the conflict. Despite negotiations, Israeli strikes killed at least 59 people across Gaza on Thursday. A new group of Gaza patients, including children, have arrived in Jordan for treatment with help from the Jordanian Armed Forces. 19 children from Gaza arrived in Jordan on Wednesday, accompanied by 40 family members, to receive medical care. The transfer was coordinated by the Jordanian Armed Forces, Health Ministry and the World Health Organization. Patients will be treated in local hospitals before returning home to make room for others. Since March, Jordan has taken 246 people from Gaza under an initiative launched to treat 2,000 critically ill patients. Officials say they hope to accelerate transfer in the coming weeks. Thailand has pledged new financial support to help Palestinians in Gaza, announcing a $50,000 contribution to UNRWA. Thailand announced the donation to UNRWA's 2025 emergency appeal aimed at providing humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza. The announcement was made during a ceremony in Amman, where Thailand's ambassador to Jordan said the contribution underscores Thailand's commitment to supporting the Palestinian people and their right to live with dignity. UNRWA continues to call for urgent assistance as conditions in Gaza worsen. Israel has ordered Palestinians in parts of Gaza City to evacuate immediately, declaring the area a dangerous combat zone. The Israeli occupation army has warned residents in 5 residential blocks in Gaza cities At-Tufah and Al-Daraj neighborhoods to evacuate at once. Army spokesperson Afahar Adrai urged civilians to move south towards Al-Mawasi, labeling the area a dangerous combat zone. The warning was issued alongside a map showing evacuation zones marked in red. Thousands of Palestinians now face new displacement and ongoing Israeli operations there. Gaza's Interior Ministry has warned residents against cooperating with the US-based organization it described as illegitimate. The Palestinian Ministry of Interior has cautioned the public against any dealings with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and its agents. In a statement posted on its official Facebook page, the ministry urged residents to avoid all direct or indirect cooperation with the US-based both inside and outside Gaza under any circumstances. Authorities did not provide further details but stressed the warning aims to protect national security. UN Women says women in Gaza are facing severe food insecurity and worsening conditions as the war continues. The regional director has warned that the women in Gaza are experiencing extreme food insecurity and suffering from the collapse of the healthcare system. In press remarks, he noted that the number of widows in Gaza has doubled due to the Israeli ongoing war. He called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and stressed the urgent need for unrestricted humanitarian aid to enter the Strip to alleviate the growing crisis. UNRWA is urging for safe and dignified aid delivery in Gaza and demanding an investigation into recent attacks on aid centers. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has called for humanitarian aid in Gaza to be delivered and be accessible to all residents. The agency also demanded an investigation into the targeting of Palestinians at aid distribution centers, where several deadly attacks have been reported. UNRWA emphasized that protecting civilians and ensuring aid reaches those in need must be a top priority amid the ongoing conflict. An Israeli report says pilots returning from missions against Iran dropped leftover munitions in Gaza during the recent conflict. A new report from Israeli newspaper Ma'arif has revealed that the Israeli pilots returning from air defense operations against Iran were permitted to drop unused munitions on the Gaza Strip. The aircraft tasked with intercepting the Iranian missiles and drones during the 12-day war were equipped with both air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons. The disclosure raises fresh concerns about the escalation of attacks on Gaza amid Israel's broader regional operations. Israeli Army spokesperson Efi Defrin announced that 5 military divisions are currently operating in various areas of the Gaza Strip. During a press conference, he confirmed that the occupation army continues to operate on the northern front based on a proactive approach to eliminate any potential threats. He added that the army will present the political leadership with plans to achieve the objectives of the war, the return of the detainees and the destruction of Hamas. For more analysis, we now move to Mark Summers in our newsroom. Mark, to you.
Thank you, Raham. Good evening, everybody. Yes, we're now joined from Cairo by the managing editor of Al-Ahram, who is Ashraf Al-Ashri. Thank you very much for being here with us. So Hamas, as part of this US brokered ceasefire deal, is requesting guarantees that the war will end fully as part of the ceasefire agreement. Is that realistic? And also, why would Hamas want such a guarantee when it's really not worth the paper it's written on?
Absolutely. Israel, in fact, have already failed to be committed to throughout the past negotiations. Israel and Netanyahu rejected such a truce and continued the killing war since the 18th of March that lead the untrust in Israel and in the military of Israel. Hamas had the right to request such guarantees, and following it, if the captives were released, they already know that Israel will continue to resume the war and to continue the genocidal war. They are killing on daily basis, and there is a desire by Israel to kill more Palestinians and to continue the policy of starvation in order to force the Palestinians to go out of Gaza. Therefore, Hamas, has no trust in Israel.
And of course, just to on that point, what you were mentioning there about the starvation of the people of Gaza, the UN Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese, has done a sensational report into the situation for people in Gaza and across Palestine. Will this report that she's done carry any diplomatic or legal weight at all?
Absolutely. The report exposed the schemes of the Israel and exposed its supported country. It is just a bold report through which accusing Israel directly and to those are supported, and through the report even requested to suspend or to impose arms embargo, considering Israel as a killer of women, elderly and women, and even requested protection from the international community to save the Palestinian people. And I think issuing such a report by the international rapporteur that represent a very strong condemnation and exposing the hidden tensions of Israel by killing the Palestinian people. With respect to the political impact, it has a great insignificant impact, and this would require an American intention to pressure Israel as the only part in the world that has the privilege or the privilege to pressure Israel. If the condition, of the U.S. did not do so, so Netanyahu will continue to doing whatever he likes.
Yes, and of course we've got repeated displacement orders being given at the moment. This is going to have a terrible effect on Gaza's humanitarian crisis, is it not?
Absolutely, these are a very catastrophic situation. Several of the international institutions and even the UN Secretary General has described what's happening to Gaza. It is this trap. So throughout all the massacres taking place in Gaza, the whole world never witnessed throughout 2 centuries before. So there is a great dire responsibility before the international community and
okay, well, I'm going to put another question to you, actually. We've got Thailand giving $50,000, $50,000 contribution to the UNRWA area of the UN. Is this going to influence broader regional and global support for the Palestinian relief efforts? Those that, I mean, at the moment, aren't actually taking place. Is there going to be a situation at some point when regional or international actors are going to say to Israel, you cannot use the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to give aid to the people of Gaza.
UNRWA and other international institutions suspended their work for the past 5 months due to Israel being abated to accusing the UNRWA, which are false accusations, and there is a great American effort to suspend the operation of UNRWA and undermining Israel. So the organization never provided any aid for a long time. A new organization backed by U.S. and Israel has failed and made the centers of delivering aid to the killing traps. So returning back to the UN, and that will be provided, imposing a new truce, and then to allow delivery of the load trucks through the designated crossing border in order to.
Well, indeed, and it's a tragic situation, and it does, as you were alluding to there, seem Israel, of course, made accusations of having members of Hamas in UNRWA, and it just seems that more or less they were doing it on purpose, making those accusations on purpose to get them out, so that they could starve the people of Gaza. Well, thank you very much, Ashraf Al-Ashri, joining us as the managing editor of Al-Ahram, and it's back to you, Rahim.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And now we move to the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
الوضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
The Lebanese Ministry of Health confirmed that 1 person was killed and 3 others injured as a result of the Israeli airstrikes targeting a car in Chaldea, south of Beirut. The Israeli Occupation Army announced on Thursday that it had carried out an airstrike targeting an individual working on behalf of Iran's Quds Force in arms smuggling operations in Lebanon. It stated that the Israeli drone targeted a vehicle in Khadija area at the southern entrance to Beirut. Lebanese media reported that the Israeli army carried out intense strikes on southern Lebanon. According to the reports, Israeli warplanes launched a series of raids around the Litani River area, marking a new escalation in the region.
غارة تاني على جبل صافي فوق وهذه غارة هلا طلعت كمان غارات على جبل صافي.
Now for the latest developments on the Ukraine-Russia war conflict. President Donald Trump is set to discuss a pause in U.S. weapon deliveries to Ukraine with President Zelensky on Friday. The Financial Times reports that U.S. President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will speak Friday to address the sudden halt in key American weapon shipments to Kyiv. The suspension prompted Ukraine to summon the acting U.S. envoy, stressing that continued military aid is crucial for countering Russian airstrikes and ground offensives. Ukrainian officials warned that any disruption in support could significantly weaken their defense capabilities. Ukraine says its drones hit a battery plant in Russia's Leptek region overnight, halting production. The Ukrainian military announced that its drones struck a battery manufacturing plant in Russia's Leptek region during an overnight attack. In a statement on Telegram, Ukraine said the strike triggered explosions and forced the facility to stop production. The plant, located in southwestern Russia, reportedly sustained significant damage. The attack is part of Ukraine's ongoing efforts to target critical Russian infrastructure amid intensified fighting. The Kremlin has welcomed Washington's decision to pause some arms shipments to Ukraine, suggesting it may speed up ending the war. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the U.S. move likely reflects depleted American stockpiles and claimed that reducing supplies would push the conflict towards a resolution. The pause reportedly involves air defense missiles and precision munitions. It comes as Russia intensifies strikes on Ukrainian cities, adding pressure to Kyiv's defense. Russian artillery and drone strikes have hit multiple regions across Ukraine, injuring at least 20 people overnight. In Kherson, artillery fire struck a hospital, wounding 8 people, including patients. Shelling continued Wednesday morning, injuring more civilians. In Kharkiv, drones damaged homes and public sites, while fires in Kupiansk hurt 3 people. The Dnipropetrovsk region also saw heavy attacks on businesses and farms, leaving 5 injured. In Odessa's Izmail district, drones hit ports and tourism facilities, but no casualties reported. The U.S. has condemned Iran's decision to suspend cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog, calling it unacceptable. The United States has criticized Iran's move to suspend cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian signed a new law enforcing the suspension following a parliamentary vote last week. U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce called the decision unacceptable and urged Tehran to fully cooperate with the agency without further delay. The move risks further escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program.
At a time when it has a window of opportunity to reverse course and
At least several people have been shot in a mass shooting in Chicago. Victim advocates described the scene as absolute chaos. Mass shooting in Chicago left a bloody scene as firefighters were seen washing sidewalks near local businesses. Victim advocate Pastor Donovan Price described it as chaos, with people screaming and blood covering the streets. He added that while Chicago sees many shootings, the scale of violence was unprecedented. A heavy police presence was deployed to secure the area as authorities investigate the motive and search for suspects. China has called for unity and a Haitian-led political process to resolve Haiti's ongoing crisis. China's deputy UN envoy, Yang Shuang, urged Haitian parties on Wednesday to strengthen unity and advance a Haitian-led, Haitian-owned political process to address the country's deepening crisis. Zhang also called for strict enforcement of the UN Security Council's arms embargo to stop weapons reaching gangs. He emphasized transforming foreign aid into local development capacity to break Haiti's cycle of poverty and violence. China reaffirmed support for UN agencies and partners assisting Haiti. Wildfires are raging in western and southern Turkey, with aircraft and emergency crews battling intense flames near major tourist areas. Firefighters and aerial units are working around the clock to contain large wildfires in Semih and Anatolia. Helicopters and planes have been dropping water as thick smoke rises, threatening highways and local communities. Emergency workers have been seen battling flames close to residential areas, while tourists and locals watch from nearby roads. Authorities continue to monitor wind conditions as efforts intensify to prevent the fires from spreading further.
Eğer çeşmeye gelecekler varsa gelmemelerini tavsiye. Yani gerçekten 5 dakika demiyor. Söndürüldükten sonra yeniden otoyola sıçrıyor. Bulunduğumuz bu noktadayız.
Pope Leo will spend part of July at Castel Gandolfo, reviving a centuries-old papal tradition and bringing hope of a tourism boost. Pope Leo plans to spend July 6th to 20th at Castel Gandolfo, a lakeside town south of Rome, marking the papal summer stay there in 12 years. Locals hope his visit will revive tourism after late Pope Francis chose not to vacation outside the Vatican. The historic papal palace has been a summer retreat since the 16th century. Town officials say the Pope's return is already generating excitement and expected economic benefits. The IMF says the European Central Bank should keep its 2% deposit rate steady unless major shocks change inflation risks. IMF European Department head Alfred Kammer said on Wednesday that the European Central Bank should maintain a 2% deposit rate, warning against unnecessary adjustments unless significant shocks shift inflation prospects. Speaking at the ECB forum in Sintra, Kammer noted that the Eurozone inflation currently faces two-sided risks, but stressed there is no evidence yet to justify a policy change. He added right now the IMF doesn't see anything of such magnitude.
We are more and more using artificial intelligence in multiple dimensions and for multiple applications.
Italy's top industry group warns potential US tariffs could cost Italy billions in exports and over 100,000 jobs. The head of Italy's General Confederation of Industry, Emanuele Orsini, warned Wednesday that US plans to impose a 10% tariff on European goods could cost Italy 20 billion euros in exports and 118,000 jobs next year. Orsini said the impact would be even worse when factoring in the euro's appreciation against the dollar since President Donald Trump's election, effectively raising the duty to 23.5%. He called the move unsustainable for Italy's economy. Liverpool forward Diogo Jota and his brother have reportedly died in a car crash in Spain. The Portuguese Football Federation confirmed the tragic news. The Portuguese Football Federation announced on Thursday that the 28-year-old Diogo Jota and his 26-year-old brother were killed in a car accident near Zamora in northwestern Spain. Local authorities said the vehicle veered off the road and burst into flames shortly after midnight. Spanish police have not officially confirmed the identities but indicated it was likely the two brothers. The Federation described their deaths as an irreparable loss for Portuguese football. Paris is preparing to open a public swimming site on the Seine River, a major milestone ahead of the Summer Olympic Games. Workers have installed buoys and a deck along the Seine in Paris, set to open to swimmers on July 5th. The city says water quality tests met safety standards despite public skepticism. Deputy Mayor Pierre Rabdan says daily tests confirm the water safety. The initiative, accelerated by the Olympic Games, aims to reconnect Parisians with the river and promote cleaner waterways amid climate change. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here's what we've been covering. Israeli strikes on Gaza's school, sheltering displaced kills at least 17 and wounds 20. Gaza's Interior Ministry warns residents against cooperating with US-based organization, calling it illegitimate. And the United States condemns Iran's suspension of cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog as unacceptable. This brings us to the end of the news bulletin and our transmission for the day. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at Qnews EGY to stay informed. Thank you for watching.